I love television. And in fact, one of my favorite shows later on, when I was a little older, probably about 11 or 12, was the Carol Burnett Show. And I absolutely loved the Carol Burnett Show. And my mom used to tell me that she couldn't understand exactly what it was that enthralled me so much to Carol, except that when she was carrying me, when she was pregnant with me, that she used to watch the Geri Moore Show. And she said, I bet Geri will listen to every single episode. And I loved comedy. I loved Lucy. I loved comedy. That was my thing. Yeah, and of course the Leave It to Beaver and all the nostalgic shows of The Perfect Family. And I always thought that someday I would be in television because I wanted it that badly. I think it was because in television there was, the only way I can put it is that when I actually got serious about becoming a performer and actually becoming an actress, I honestly thought that once I got into television, that cerebral palsy would become insignificant, that it wouldn't exist anymore. An escape, if you will. And actually, it did quite the opposite. In every single interview that I've ever had, the first questions were always about cerebral palsy, always. And I was, can you forget about that? Can we talk about something else? And I realized on a spiritual level that as a kid, I needed that dream because it enabled me to do the work that I've come into the world to do. So there was a reason for me believing the fantasy and then entering the reality and doing something with it. I started writing Carol Burnett when I was about 12, 11 or 12, somewhere around there. And the thing that I loved about Carol Burnett was that she had such an incredible sense of humor about herself. And she would laugh at herself. And I was always laughed at a lot by other kids in the neighborhood. So I was made fun of and mimicked. And laughter didn't always feel good. Yet when Carol did it, it felt good. And I knew there was a difference. And so I became like, she was my idol for so long. And I told her that I started writing her, Dear Carol Burnett, I love you. And when I grow up, I want to be just like you. I want to be an actress, and I want to be a comedian, and I want to be a writer. And by the way, I have cerebral palsy. Hey, what do you think about that? and you know, Carol wrote me back practically every single time I wrote her. And I finally bought tickets to not buy them, I ordered them. Mm-hmm. They weren't for sale. I couldn't afford them. I didn't even have an allowance. And so I got tickets to the Carol Burnett Show. I think it was 1974. And I took some friends of mine, and I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, I get to talk to my idol. And at the beginning of the show, when she raised the house lights to accept questions from the audience, I raised my hand. She never called on me. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I was so upset by it. And ironically, out of all the episodes that I could have been to, it was the one where she wore the drapes on her shoulders.
The one with the wind
Yes,
sketch?
I was in that audience. I was in the front row.
Oh, wow.
And at one point during the show, Tim Conway cracked Harvey Korman up so bad that they couldn't continue. They had to take a break. So, of course, when they took a break, I'm back to my first gripe about not being called on by Carol Burnett. And I turned to my friend Audrey and I said, Audrey, I can't believe she didn't call on me. I just can't believe it. And she said, Jay, will you shut up? And then I said, but I really wanted to talk to her. Well, you better think of something to say because she's coming over here. Oh, she is not. And I turned around and she was right in my face. She said, hi, you must be Geri Jewell. And I was stunned. I was like, you know? How'd you know? Oh, I had a clue. You know, I had written her so many times, and I obviously had cerebral palsy. She put 2 and 2 together, and she told me that she loved the poetry that I wrote her. I said her poetry all the time. And she said, I hang your poetry in my office for everybody to see it. And it was like a dream come true. And I said to her, I said, Carol, I said, can you do me a favor? And she said, what? And I said, well, you see, I wrote a paper on you for my English class. And if you autograph it, I could get a better grade. And she did, and I got an A.